Good morning, happy fall. Welcome to MEC440-441, your design capstone sequence for fall 2020 to spring 2021. I'm Professor Rafael Tejada, and I'll be working with Professor Jay Mendelson in this course. As you can see here, this is our contact information. We'll both be teaching both sections together for the first couple of weeks of the course. You can see here that we have our office information, but we're unlikely to be on campus consistently, so the best way to reach us both is via email. We'll also be setting up Zoom links for meetings with us specifically as well. Okay, let's talk about the course. So this course is a 2-semester long course, right? So we actually structured as one large course as opposed to 2 separate courses. And the prerequisites for this are basically everything that you've taken up until this point. And there's a co-requisite of MEC 410 and 411. So if you're not taking MEC 411, make sure that you register for that. And make sure that you grab MEC 410 next semester so that way you don't get kicked out of 441. There's no textbook required for this class. However, we do have a good reference book we like by Stuart Pugh, Total Design, written in 1991. It kind of covers some of this design mindset that we're trying to push into the course. You might be able to get a copy of this for even a couple of bucks, depending on where you get it from, if you're interested in reading through it. All of our course files are going to be posted and announcements made through Blackboard. The announcements posted in Blackboard will be sent to you via email, but you should probably try to check Blackboard about once a day, once every 2 days, to make sure that you stay abreast of the course. Any course submissions are also going to be made through Blackboard, and we're going to post instructions on Blackboard on how to make those submissions as well. Our course progression here, right, over the 2 semesters, each group would develop a working prototype that demonstrates a mechanical engineering solution to solve a problem that you're given. This prototype is going to be developed through a series of steps that mimic a real-world team, right? You're going to do some design, you're going to vet that design, you're going to numerically determine whether or not that design is the most appropriate you could do, and then as you move into the second course, you're going to do some prototyping, you're going to do some on-the-fly updates to your design as you identify parts of it that really just aren't working right, and then eventually you'll have a finished prototype that solves the problem. Each step along the way is going to be highlighted with a design report, right? There's going to be 5 of them in total, and they're going to build on each other. By the time that you're done with all of the design reports, you're going to have a document that's about 200 pages long. It's a little bit unbelievable, right, at the moment, that you're going to be writing such a long document, but I promise students do it every year, and they're just as surprised as you are. The final document is going to detail all aspects of your design, from formulating the design problem in such a way that the average person can understand it, to having detailed dimensional drawings about the design that describe the design, so that way somebody else could build it for you if you passed along those documents, right? And it's also going to include details about your finished product, right? Including whatever advantages, disadvantages, and whatever testing that you did to determine its usefulness. There's going to be 2 oral presentations done through PowerPoint, one in each semester, where you're going to present your work to the rest of the class. In MEC 440, we're going to have a number of tests. So for the first thing that we're going to have to do is learn about the design process. We're going to do a couple of lectures for the first few weeks before we break down at the small group meetings about your particular projects, where we go through the design process. But we also are going to have video lectures that we've already posted online, so that way you can look ahead and see what's going on and review this content. I'm going to develop our design specifications and our product design criteria according to the needs and constraints identified in our project write-up that's given or that we formulate with our advisor. And we're going to generate and evaluate our conceptual designs for the PDS and PDC, right? We're going to conduct detailed design and analysis incorporating engineering standards and manufacturing constraints into design, because if you can't build it, it's not a solution, right? We're going to accept individual professional responsibility for a project. When you work on a project with a team, everybody on the team is responsible for the project's success. Everybody passes and fails by the same muster. Everybody is successful or not successful, right, through their own efforts and the efforts of the group. We're going to prepare 3 design reports and give an oral presentation with visual materials. This is going to be through like a PowerPoint presentation of your work, basically. In MEC 441, right, our lens is going to change from this design-focused, leaning into more of a prototyping and evaluation work. So we're going to build and refine our working prototypes that meet the requirements set in the previous semester, right? Based on our detailed testing protocol and our design. We're going to identify and acquire any new knowledge that we need in order to make the project come to life, right? But that isn't taught in some of our classes that we've taken. For some of these projects, they're very unique, or they need very niche skill sets and knowledge, and so each of you has actually become a subject matter expert on your own project, right, and be able to contribute knowledge usefully to the group and share it with other people. You're going to use modern engineering tools to implement your project. This could be anything from computer-aided engineering, like finite element analysis, to CAM to get some machining done. Maybe you're going to do thermal analysis based on what your project is. The sky's the limit here. We're going to try to help you guys get through this. We're going to gain a better appreciation of how engineering solutions can have an impact on society and people's lives. A number of our design projects are scoped out to literally solve problems that people have or the world has. And so we're going to get to really see in what ways we can do better for other people. We're going to prepare 2 reports in the 441 and give oral presentations with visualized materials. And we're going to develop an ability to function in multidisciplinary teams. Now, you guys are all MEC majors, and so the mindset that you probably have is that, oh, that's not a multidisciplinary team. However, each of you has your own particular niche in which you're very good at something. You have your own particular skills, and you have your own experience so far. And so even though you guys have the same academic background, right, you are still multidisciplinary groups when you come together because you have different skills that you can bring to the table. For our team requirements, right, design projects are going to be worked on in teams of 3 to 4, right, based on the needs of the chosen project. This semester, all of the projects that we have can be worked in teams of 3. Teams of 4 might just make that easier. So no single-person teams are going to be allowed, and a 2-person engineering team is only allowed as part of a 4-person collaborative team with another engineering department. That would mean, let's say you grab 2 electrical engineering majors and you do a project with them. This year, we don't have any projects scoped out for that with any other departments, but we've done this in the past. If you're not part of a team of appropriate size, your class professor will select teammates for you. So if you submit for your team, you only submit for 2 members. We're going to add members to your group. Additionally, if we have to, on 3-person teams, we may add a 4th person if we have some people who couldn't find a group. So you may, as on a 3-person team, end up as a 4th person you didn't choose. You may choose a project advisor from the MEC department, or we're going to provide an advisor for you, and you have to maintain regular meetings with your advisor. So each one of the groups is going to be assigned an advisor that's going to work with them throughout the year, and they're going to help guide you through the design and engineering process, so that way you can do the best job that you can on your project. And at the end of the fall semester, right, all of the teams are going to meet with me, right? And we're going to go through detailed design, prototyping, and manufacturability issues because that's my specialization. And I feel like that's something that I can really bring to all of the teams, right, including the ones that don't, especially the ones, rather, that don't meet with me regularly, to really help you guys see issues, right, that you may not have seen either through lack of experience or just from looking at the project for too long, right? Sometimes we don't see issues because we're too familiar with the documents that we're looking at. So in the fall semester, here are our due dates. You can see we've got kind of about a report due once a month or so. In the beginning, we've got some really important deadlines. First, we have to submit for our teams and project proposals, right, by August the 28th. Okay, so if you're selecting one of our projects, no problem. Great. You're going to fill out our Google form that'll go through when I'm done with the slides, and just select that. You just need to have your team selected by Friday. If you're going to try to do a project of your own contrivance between the 28th and September 7th, you need to come up with a document in the same style as the one that we're presenting you about our projects, about your project, and get it approved. So that way you can start your project. So the 28th is for teams, the 7th is for projects. Okay. And then by the 21st, by the end of the month or so, you're going to be given a advisor, or you must find your own and let us know who it is. At the end of the actual end of the month, Progress Report 1 on the 25th, right? And this is going to be covering some topics that we'll go through during the class. We're going to have actually a template for the first paper for you. On Progress Report 2, we have a conceptual design here due on October 30th. This is going to be when we're first presenting our design ideas that we come up with as a group. We're going to continue to work on our conceptual design, and finally, for our last progress report on the 18th of December, we're going to have our final conceptual design and our detailed design documents, and this is all of the documents with dimensions on them and spec'd out bills of materials and how much everything's going to cost and where you're going to buy it from and all of that kind of information. And our fall, air quotes, right, semester oral presentations are actually going to be the first thing we do in the spring semester. So that way you can focus on all of this design work this semester, and then after winter session, you can refine it, do whatever you got to do, and come back and give a nice presentation on that first thing next semester. In the spring semester, our due dates are going to be subject to change based on the academic calendar and whether or not the university is open in light of the coronavirus. But tentatively, right, in the middle of March, you're going to be submitting your first progress report, where you're going to be showing your first working prototype or the beginnings of your working prototype. About a month later, you're going to show your first product testing. This is like, okay, my prototype's super done. Look at this. Okay, that's another benchmark along the way. And then you have your final design report due on May 14th. And this is where you present your final working prototype and your design report for final submission. And then we're going to be doing our spring oral presentations whenever our final exam is due. As a note at this point, I just want to mention that all of our class documents are copyrighted, right? They are the ownership of the course instructors, right? And you cannot post them on Course Hero or Chegg or Study or any of these other websites where people, post course documents for their own financial gain, or you may not use them, right, as though they were yours, right, without the express permission of the author. So we use a weighted report grading throughout the academic year upon these reports. They're not all worth the same. As you can see, our first two reports are both worth 10%. Report 3 is worth 15%, right? Our fall presentation is worth 5%. We go through another 10% report, and we have a big chunk here, 35%, for progress report 5 and a working prototype. And then this is for our final presentation. Also is 5%, and we get an amount for attendance and teamwork, 5% each semester, so 10% of your total grade. So you can see here that this working prototype and your final report is worth a huge chunk of your grade, right? And remember, that's a grade for 2 classes, so you really want to make sure that you bang up the job right here and do a great job. So some general class grading rules. Okay, each report's going to be submitted and graded on a team basis. Late reports are going to cost 5% of the report per day, and late reports aren't accepted after being 3 days late. It's our goal to give each member of a team the same grade. However, sometimes grades may be adjusted as grades may be adjusted due to the contributions of individual members or the lack thereof. And so if you're not contributing to your group, you may get a lower grade than the rest of them. Your attendance for the class presentations and small group meetings will be counted towards your grade, and if you miss a third or more of them, you lose your attendance and 2 more points for the semester. Any team that does not have an academic advisor will lose their class attendance and teamwork, so this is basically saying that you're going to lose these teamwork and class attendance points if you don't meet with your academic advisor. Students are expected to clean up after themselves in the student shop, right? And here we're talking about when we move to prototyping, our senior design lab and machine shop. We have to follow all of our lab policies. Food and beverages in the laboratories are not allowed, right? And then we're going to have some capacity limits that must be adhered to, some safety restrictions in light of the coronavirus. If you get access to the senior design lab this year, we actually don't have keys. We're going to get your key card access, so you won't need anything more than you already have. And any students found in violation of any of the lab policies for the workshops can be subject to discipline, including reduction of your course grade. We ask students participate in the Eureka Campus-wide Undergraduate Research Symposium every year. The university has the symposium where undergraduate students come together, show off the work they've been doing as their research, show off their senior design projects, show off just the work that they have been doing. It's a great opportunity to network. It's a good opportunity to kind of show off the work you've been doing to your peers, especially from other departments. And since we make this a requirement, if you miss the Eureka Symposium, we remove 3 percentage points from your aggregate score for the class, which translates to roughly a third of the letter grade. In the fall semester, our grading rules, right? Student groups must submit their choice from the project list by 8/28. Up to 2 groups will be allowed to work on 1 project, and choices are solidified by September 7th. The class professors will decide which groups work on which project. So that means by the 28th, you have to submit the form, right? If you're picking your own project then, right, we're going to work with you, and choices for the projects will all be solidified by September 7th. Okay, and depending on which projects are selected, you may get your first or second choice, maybe even your third choice, but we can't know which projects are going to be oversubscribed to, and so some projects may have 10 people that want to do them as their first choice, and some may have none, right? And so we need to kind of work within what we have. This year we have almost 30 projects, so there's actually almost enough projects for each group to have selected one as their first choice, but we're going to let you guys double up so you can do something that you're interested in. And then we're going to make the decisions at the class instructors on which groups work on which project. Okay, you're going to submit your first through fourth choices on the Google form that'll go through after this. In the event that a project is oversubscribed, like I said, we're going to let you work on your second and third choice. If you have your own project here, you have to receive approval from your course instructors, right? The project proposal must come with a complete list of project design criteria as illustrated in the project list. We'll go through the project list also so that you guys can see what those look like. A 0 grade is going to be given on report 1 for any groups that don't have an approved project by the 7th, and then we'll assign you a project on the 7th also. And final designs with fully dimensioned drawings and bill of materials are required in the last report of the semester. Groups that don't have a coherent final design can't continue to MEC440-441 because you can't move to prototyping if you don't have a finished design. In order to get a grade for report 5, this is in the spring semester, right? A working prototype is going to have to be finished, and no grade is going to be given for an incomplete prototype. The prototype has to work. It has to function. It's important. Prototype work should start at the beginning of the spring semester, leaving sufficient time to refine and improve the design, right? Really, you want to start working right when you get back in early February, so that way by, hopefully mid to late March, you're all done, the thing's working, and you can kind of put your feet up and just finish up your last design for it. The fifth report is going to be graded by us and also your project advisor. So you have to make sure that that report is submitted on time and early enough that that project advisor has time to grade it and give us a grade. Like I've mentioned before, the letter grade issued at the end of the course is going to be for 6 credits, and each team is going to have an aggregate score up to 100 points. Letter grade breakdown is as follows. The budget limit for each student for your project is $280. So if you have 3 students, you multiply that by 3. If you have 4 students, you multiply that by 4. And this only covers materials and components. To request a reimbursement, we're going to have you guys fill out a purchase requisition form, and you have to attach the original receipts. If you bought it with a credit card and not cash, then you need to attach the credit card statement with that as well. We'll go through how to fill out that form a little bit later this semester as well. And there's a note: shipping and sales tax are reimbursable, but travel expenses are not. I can't imagine why any of you would have to travel for your projects, but I figured that's a good time to mention. Okay, guys, I wanted to take a couple of minutes to go through our Blackboard, show you where everything is, where the course documents that are important are, and where you can expect to find things throughout the term. When you go to the course in Blackboard, right, you're going to see it like this. You're going to come in. First thing you're going to see is our announcements page. You see that we've posted a few announcements already. You're going to find things like if the Zoom room has to be updated, or if we have any urgent messages for you here. If you go into course documents, you're going to find a whole host of things in here. The first three things are very important for you right now. The first is our project list. I'm just going to open that up in a new tab so I can go through that in a second, as well as our group sign up and need a group form. So I'll open this up as well. As we go down in here, we can see that we have our online lectures, right? We have a number of PDF slides for lecture documents here. These are what we're going to be going through in the beginning of the term. The slides that I reviewed earlier in the video are also here at the bottom, and you can see that on each of these we actually have a YouTube video that goes along with these in case you'd like to listen rather than just read. We have template documents for different things that you're going to need throughout the term. We have a first report template, a PDS template. You're going to be submitting one of these later early in the semester. You're going to want to take a look at this as soon as you can. Got some instructions on how to upload files to group locations in Blackboard. And some other useful bits in here. We have our course syllabus. Down here, the reimbursement form is also tucked in here. As you can see, we have a syllabus and once again those intro slides. So moving over to our project list, I was mentioning this before, that if you wanted to submit your own project, that it had to be in the format of what we were giving you. So these are the projects that we have for this term. So you can see here, for example, our first project, project number 1, we're going to be using these projects to refer to them all year. If we have two groups that, let's say, both wanted to do the gutter cleaning robot, we're going to have a 1A and a 1B. You can see that we have a project summary here. This describes the problem, right, that you're trying to solve for the project, right, in kind of some basic terms, you know. And then we have some product design criteria and the deliverables for the project, wherein these are the things that you need to solve very specifically, what it needs to be, what the project needs to be able to do, and what you need to be, what you have to turn in at the end of the year. And these can be all kinds of different specificity. For example, in this one, it says the robot has to run for at least 30 minutes without charging running batteries. It must run in these temperature conditions, and so on, right? And as we go through, you see that we have all kinds of these different projects. Some projects are going to require that you have specific or access to specific items. For example, we have our automated cat chumming system, so obviously that would be useful if you had a cat to play with this thing to test it out. That would be fun. Or maybe one of your neighbors has a cat. You don't really need a cat the whole time. For some of the other projects, for example, we have a few of them that require a bicycle, right? And you're not going to damage the bicycle if you use this. So if you got one to borrow or you own a bicycle, you're going to modify the bicycle. You're going to add components to it to get it to be what it has to be. Same thing, we have two projects that require a bicycle, one that requires a 3D printer, right? And I recommended a 3D printer that is very, very cheap, right? I have one of these at home, actually. It's a pretty decent printer. So you kind of get a little extra juice out of this project here. And then we have one that requires an acoustic guitar. And I guess our Good Boy launcher requires a dog, right? As we go down to the bottom of the list, we have a couple of projects that require approval of a particular faculty member because you'll be working with them. For our walk assist, it requires the approval of Professor Pawar, and for our four-space flight simulator, you require approval of Professor Longton to work with him. Moving on from there, we have our group sign-up and project selection form. It's going to log your email address in case we have to get in contact with you, so you have to do this with this at stonybrook.edu email address. As you go through here, you can see you're going to select up to 4 group members, right? You're going to put in their names and ID numbers, right? I'm going to just fill in some text here so that way you guys can see what the form does, right? See. And then I don't have a 4th group member, so I'm going to mark NA here. I'm going to put a 0 because I don't know what that guy's ID number is because he doesn't exist. Next. And then we have our ability to select our projects. If you're going to be doing one of your own projects, you want to select X, submitting own project idea. And then you can also select other choices, or if you have an idea for your own project, but you only really want to do that if some other stuff falls through, you can put it on your 3rd or 4th choice as well. And then after you do all of this, you can have it send you a copy of your responses. Well, you hit submit, and it's gonna log that on the form. Okay, I think that's about everything that we need to go through with everybody. If you have any questions, please email either myself or Professor Mendelson. Good luck, guys.